I'm recording. Okay, I am
Yeah.
now recording, everyone. All right, we're going to get this started. So my name, Merve Lapus. I'm the Vice President of Outreach and Regional Partnerships for Common Sense Education. And I've got two great educators here today. And first of all, before I introduce them, the reason why we're doing this is we know that there's so much changing out there right now. This is not the same as teaching from home or, trying to help our kids with homework. It's a very different world right now. And I wanted to bring folks together, just kind of talk real talk from educator to educator, educator to parent, parent, educator, skills, worker, person, whatever roles you're playing now, many hats. We want to just get some authentic conversation going. So I wanted to invite two of my friends here. Just if you can go first, a little bit about, first introduce yourself, where you're from, and tell a little bit about the school or schools you support.
Okay. Hello, everybody. My name is Jessica Lura. I work at Bullis Charter School, which is located in Los Altos, California, which is in the San Francisco Bay Area. We are a K-8 school, mostly K-5 and then some middle school. And we just have over 1,000 students. In terms of our school demographics and stuff, we're pretty consistent with the rest of the Bay Area. Some high-tech people, some normal workers, kind of something in between. So in terms of technology and such that we were previously using, our middle school is one-to-one, but using iPads. And our K-5 uses technology, but they don't necessarily bring it home, and it's not one-to-one.
And so you work at Bullis Charter School, but you live in?
Oh, but I live in Maryland. So I am actually a remote worker. So some of this is actually fairly normal for me. To be zooming in with colleagues and chatting with them from afar. But so I am the director of learning there, but remotely.
All right. And Joe, please introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Joe Vitale. I am what is my title? That's a great question.
Always changing?
Yeah, right. I'm a middle school social studies teacher. I also teach a technology elective. I'm an ad hoc digital learning specialist. We don't have specific positions in the district that I work in, but I do a lot of, I don't want to say freelance, but I do, I'm a certified Google trainer. I'm a former Apple learning specialist. We have over 14,000 students in my district. We're the 6th largest district in the state of New Jersey.
Wow.
Of all different socioeconomic backgrounds. We have an 8th grade that is iPad one-to-one. Our high schools are one-to-one with Chromebooks, and basically all of our other grades, most of our buildings, I would say 90% are one-to-one with carts of Chromebooks. They do not take them home.
Okay.
My specific role is I do training for teachers to get them past the level 1 and level 2 exams, as well as train the trainer for Google trainers, professional development for teachers, running our summer tech, or helping to plan, not running, our summer tech academy. That's pretty much my role.
And are you okay with sharing what district?
Oh, sorry. I'm in the Woodbridge Township School District.
I got family in Woodbridge, dude.
You do?
I do. Every time I visit my family, they are in Woodbridge. I can't tell you the name or the place. I just know it's Woodbridge, and I show up, and I know how to get there when I'm driving, but I don't know anything else about it.
Yes, you probably pass Jose Tejas with the big sign, and then you know.
Totally.
Yeah, there you go. My man, see, he knows. Big sign that says eat.
I'm
You
down.
can't miss it. Can't miss it.
Awesome. Well, so you both are used to using technology, and in many cases training and supporting technology for your educators. How much are your actual educators that you've supported? How much have they been using technology for instruction, I would say, on a normal day? And what has changed now? And how is that reaction?
I'll just jump in. I don't know.
Yeah, jump in.
So I think it really depends on the teacher. Our middle school teachers, 6, 7, and 8, use technology. I feel like on probably every single class period they teach. Our students, and at least 5th grade and above, are regularly using Google Classroom, or have been regularly using Google Classroom previous to this. And so there's a lot of, I feel like those teachers are used to kind of having that setup. Where they are pushing assignments out, and students are either doing it as homework or starting some in-class work, but that communication has already been set up. K-5 teachers use technology maybe every day. I think it really depends on the teacher and what the kids are doing. Communication, I feel like, has not been pushed out via technology for K4, probably K3. And that's been the biggest change, I think, for us. Now we are on day 3 of remote learning. And so that's been one of the biggest changes, I think, is really trying to figure out how we bundle information to students of all ages, and potentially parents, depending on who's at home and what's going on.
So that's a pain point right now.
Yep.
Joe, what's your current situation?
I would say our teachers are using technology. We're trying to find the delicate balance of how many of our lessons do we do in a traditional manner, and how do we use technology. As we move to one-to-one classrooms, there's a pedagogical shift in teaching a teacher how to teach in that environment. It's not just, now we can use an iPad or a Chromebook as a glorified notebook. We have to teach them how they can interact with the technology better. I think that is by far our biggest challenge before this
whole
the
shutdown.
Incident. I don't know what we're calling it.
The age, right?
Yeah.
I think they're saying that, kids born in 2020 to 2021 now are going to be called coronials.
Oh, I love it.
Wow.
Yeah.
The coronial generation, during coronial times, and it shifted education.
Can we mention that the best thing about this entire situation are the memes? Can we just?
There's so many memes.
Oh, they're so
memes.
good.
So many memes.
I'm in a group chat and literally it's 15, 20, 30 memes a day.
But it's so helpful.
It just keeps,
it's like, they know me. They totally know
my favorite one so far would be, if you see me talking to myself this week, leave me alone. I'm having a parent teacher conference. That's my that's my favorite one. But no, I mean, when we now are in this situation, a lot of teachers got thrown into the deep end.
Yeah.
And it's how are we going to support them moving forward? Mm-hmm. So I think that's our biggest pain point right now as a district, especially one being as large as we are. So
yeah. So I know we're just kind of we're 3 days in for you. So how many days in for you are you guys now?
We are in this is day 4. So we closed in New Jersey as of Monday. We knew last week that we were closing on Monday. We knew on Friday we were closing on Monday, and then the governor closed all New Jersey schools until further notice. So.
Okay, so still relatively new, and trying to figure things out. What would you say is the first thing you guys are trying to figure out, or that you figured out, and that you can just share with anyone that watches this?
I'm not sure I would figure it out.
And that's totally fine. I think that's
it's a loaded word.
Real and honest. I know, right?
I think that we came up with a schedule of what it might look like, and just decided to jump in. And I think that, and we were very clear, this is version 1. This is what we're trying for these first couple of days. We checked in with all the teachers today and tomorrow. We're going to check in, and we're sending a parent survey home to sort of get a gauge of are we doing too much? Are we doing too little? What are your students missing? What do you need? What do the kids need? So that we didn't feel stymied, but that also we were trying to be really responsive.
So you essentially created kind of a schedule that you think might be helpful, and now you're just going to test it and get feedback from the parents.
Yeah, it's sort of we're this is what it's going to look like in K-5. We're going to have these classes. We have so kindergarten through 5th grade, they all have 2 synchronous check-ins in the morning and at the end of the day, actually. And so we're we're going to see what that works. Who knows what that might look for kindergarten? Is that going to be good? Is it going to be bad? Yeah. And we just sort of every day we've learned a little bit more. And so it was sort of reiterating, this is, we're going for it. This is the version 1. It's, we're all doing the best we can. Every day you're going to get better at it.
If there's any version of version 1 that you'd be okay with sharing, I would love to link to it in the video, just so you can say, here's version 1. And this means we learn from this. We see what works. I think it was really interesting.
Not everyone likes it.
Yeah. I mean, it's because Joe brought up memes. Someone, there've been these great ones, here's what instruction at home could look like. It's all color coded. It's pretty. Right. And then someone said, here's what real learning looks like. They scribbled it out. It's I just want my kids to be safe, fed.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's
refuses to get out of the bathtub. I like that one. That was a good one on that one.
How about you, Joe? What would you say is something you're working on? Something that maybe is a win?
One of the things that I'm working on with, I talked to my boss about this. I talked to our district leadership about this is not being jack of all trades, master of none. We have a lot of teachers that are like, I want to try this, and I want to try this, and I want to try this. It's like, okay, let's take one step back. Let's prioritize learning first. What do we want our students to know? And we also have to keep in mind, and I know, Merv, this is one of the themes of this whole thing is, you know, I'm an educator and I'm a parent. And one of the biggest things we're finding is, and we go back to that word balance. You know, I'm home. My wife is home. My wife works for Rutgers University as an adjunct professor, so she's been home for a while. And now, you know, I'm home and I'm trying to balance the needs of my students and the needs of my own kids and the needs of staff and faculty that are reaching out to me, rightfully so, because they have questions and they want to reach their own students and they want to talk to them. So it's
Sure.
What is that balance going to be? So I think one of the things we're really stressing and working on is let's focus on that one thing that you want students to take away. Now more than ever, focus on that one thing that you want your students to take away from the lesson that you are giving them. And you, Jess, you used a very important word, feedback. You know, we need to be, I mentioned this yesterday in a video diary I'm doing, we need to be open to feedback from parents. We need to be asking them, how did this lesson go? I have ELL students in my class, and I said to them today, do this activity. I think it's going to take you an hour. I need to know how long it takes you. And some of them, it was 2 hours and 15 minutes. And now I need to figure out, how do I adjust for that student who's trying to learn English and also learn civics at the exact same time?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm kind of going in different directions, but that's definitely something is what that balance is. It's the balance for us. It's the balance for our kids and the amount of work that we're giving them. You know, that's the one thing that I think that we are striving, and we're never going to perfect it, but we have to make sure that we're all kind of in the same boat with that.
Yeah. So something you brought up, which was really interesting for me, is as you're talking about like jack of all trade, master of none. Reality is, even though we've all done, we have not all done distance learning.
I'm gonna interrupt you because my wife heard me talking, because she's always listening, and she says she's the assistant professor and interim assistant dean at Rutgers, not an adjunct professor.
Let's get it right, okay, Joe? Let's get this right.
So
it is.
She's always listening.
My cousin's graduated from Rutgers, so I've got a Rutgers sweater. I will represent for Rutgers.
Please do. Football team stinks, but that's okay. All right. I'm sorry to interrupt, but you know,
no,
gotta make sure gotta keep Mrs. Vitale happy. Happy wife, happy life. So,
exactly. I appreciate that. My wife and my kids just happen not to be in the room right now, so I'm squared. But jack of all trade, master of none. We are not, even though we've done distance learning or have learned from others before using Zoom or FaceTime or any other kind of like jack, we've done this-ish, but this is a very different time now, right? And there's a lot that we're all trying to react to. If you were to choose one thing you would hope to get right in the next week or two, what would that thing be that you want to try and get right in the next week or two for your kids or the teachers that are supporting the kids that you support? Gut reaction.
I feel like I'm harping a lot on communication, but I feel like a lot of our teachers have been sort of overwhelmed because we're now can't, walk next door and knock on someone's door and say, hey, what are you doing with this lesson? And so like trying to come up with systems of like, how do we work smarter so that together when we're not physically in the same space. And so we really have been spending a lot of time on like, are we using email well? Should we be using a different tool other than email? How are we sharing those memes? How are we sharing our successes? And so we're really trying to figure out, I guess, so it's sort of communication, but also built into that is how do we make sure we maintain a school culture?
Yeah, sharing best practices in a way that don't get interrupted, because you can't just be like, yo, look what I found today. This is super helpful.
Right. But we really want people to be sharing all that, right? And so, or like today was, Spirit Wear Day, and they are all the kids and some of the teachers were in, sports gear. And like, where do you share that? Because you don't see each other.
Yeah.
And so I think that's a really, like, it seems not as important maybe as talking about learning, but like keeping teachers, keeping their spirits up, keeping our community going, right? Like that, because I think it's gonna be very easy, as Joe kind of mentioned, to kind of get overwhelmed and feel like you're like in this place and you're like, what am I gonna do? I have all these responsibilities. I don't know what to do. And so we're really working on like, how do we support each other And that's communication, and that's building a space of belonging that's online now and not in person.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're doing our district is putting together some calls next week for teachers. We're doing K-2, 3 to 5, 6 to 8 in high school. We're doing our tentative plan is 2 o'clock and a 7 o'clock call to give teachers an opportunity to do either call depending on what works in their schedule. And we want to talk about what does the workflow look like? We want to talk about what are some pain points and some things that you need additional help with, and how are you dealing with self-care? It's not about professional development. And from there, we're going to tailor some PD, and we need to like check in with one another. I'm really looking forward to those next week because I think our district's been very proactive with how we're handling this situation. But those conversations are important to have. One of our teachers, Tara Del Gandio on Facebook in our area, created a remote distance learning Facebook group, like in a matter of days. It's 3,500 teachers.
Wow.
And it's, meme sharing, and it's, and it's what are your best lessons? It's phys ed teachers saying like, look, I don't want to give them reading. What else can I do? Like virtual tours of stadiums and, different stuff like that.
Yeah,
so
sure.
we're that sense of community, like all bets are off at this point. We got to all like take our best practices and share it from now to the top of the mountain to make sure everybody, is keeping some sanity through all this.
Yeah. So Joe, would you say that effective like communication and sharing best practices, like that's what you guys really want to get down?
Yeah, 100%. And that's already happening in smaller pockets.
Yeah, but how do you bring in the whole, because you work with a large district with many different educators across K.
Like I'm sharing, like one of my coworkers made a YouTube video which walked her parents through how to use Google Classroom. And I was like, that's great. I'm just going to steal it and send it to all my parents and say, look, this was made by another educator. I know her. She's great. This will help you navigate through Google Classroom. I watched, literally 30 seconds of her video. I was like, yep, this will be good. And I just threw it out there because we need to share those resources as much as possible and open up our classrooms, open up our professional development, open up our YouTube channels, share all that stuff with parents and other educators, not just in our own hometowns, but, as far as we can reach. Yeah.
All right. So conscious of time. So I have two more questions that I want to kind of engage with you guys in. So the one question, first question for me is, if you were to sum up your current feeling right now as an educator in this space, knowing the different role and the different work that you do, how would you sum up your feelings in one word? How are you feeling?
Optimistic.
Awesome. Okay.
Well, I'm going to go the opposite end. I'm going to go worried. The other reason I put that out there is I've talked to a couple colleagues off the ledge. And what I mean by that is they are just, it's day 3 and they're like, I'm done.
Yeah.
This bullshit is crazy. Pardon my language.
Yeah.
We have a number of staff members that I work with that they got young kids at home. We have one that has a 4-year-old and I think an 8-month-old. Her husband is a police officer. She's a single parent right now. Yeah. Like dad's going out and working because
he's
he has to.
Yeah.
So like that, it's tough. I'm worried for my coworkers that are going through that. I'm worried for my students. Yeah. Like I have a daily check-in form that I use with them. How are you doing? Do you need me to check in? And like, when I say all bets are off, like I get the numbers from our learning management system. I call their houses and I say, put your kid on the phone. They ask me to check in. I want to see how I can help.
Yeah.
So we need to like completely break down those barriers of, and it's hard. It's hard because we've never been in this position. So I'm just worried that every kid that we have is going to get what they need.
And I think that it's perfectly okay. I think it's great to know that we can be optimistic and we are also worried. And that is real. So my last thought, I mean, there's actually so much I would really, literally, seriously, this would be so fun to unpack over a longer period of time. And let's do that at some point. I think that'd be great. What would you say is the one thing you would want an educator who's now, trying to engage their kids from afar? Technology may have been a part of the way that they instruct, but now is like the primary way. that they're trying to keep related. Not that they're delivering, because not all, just because you have the technology doesn't mean that they're using the tech. They might just be using the tech to deliver what they need to do, and everything's coming out of pamphlets and books. That's how what my kids are getting. They just look up and see what they need to get done. But if you were to say, here's one thing I'd like you to kind of think about or consider, what would that one thing be? And then we'll kind of wrap up.
I think mine's going to go back to actually something Joe said earlier. I think is focus. Pick what you think is most important and focus on that. So don't it's wonderful. People are sharing so much and there's so much out there, and it's really easy to get overwhelmed because you're already kind of feeling the uncertainty out there anyway, right? So look for some stability. Pick what you know and pick what you need to do and focus on that and just start with that.
Great. Joe?
Yeah, I echo those sentiments completely. I want, if I look at this from the, I think a lot of this is what we're doing. What I'm doing right now is mentoring and trying to help other teachers get through a difficult situation. Oh, here's how I might approach this, and giving them some feedback. But I also want them to remember, we got a story, and I happen to know the parent personally. The parent took a child to a follow-up to their surgeon because the child had brain surgery. And they had to bring the oldest daughter with them because you can't leave the kid home. And she got home, and it was after 3:00, and that's when the teacher had the assignment due. And then the kid was locked out of the assignment, and the student who got locked out of the assignment had a meltdown.
Oh man.
Because they're like, I was at the doctor, I got it. And we need, that's where the parent needs to have that feedback. That's where the teacher needs to be flexible.
Yeah.
That's where we need our rigidity to relax a little bit. But we also want to hold our kids to I teach middle school. So elementary school, it might be different. But for high school and middle school kids, we want to stick to those expectations, but we also need to be flexible. And that's why on my daily check-in form that I use with my students, is there anything you want to tell me? And we had one student in another school from a teacher where I got this from that said, hey, my grandfather got into a car accident. I'm okay, but I might need extra time. Yeah. We don't know that unless we reach out. We have to, and I guess my thing would be reach out, get the feedback. Don't be afraid to hear that this lesson took way too long, and then adjust it for next time. We're never going to get better. So. Awesome.
All right. So the number one thing, the few things that I took from this, just in terms of, what can you take away? So one, I heard, put something together, just try it, but be open for feedback. These are different times. Let's try and figure that out. You can't always be a jack of all trades, a master of none. And so it's great to be able to focus on something so that you can really get it right. And really, especially as you're looking at a learning objective, what is that one objective you want to get out, and not make it too complex? Really make it so that your kids understand the one thing you want them to learn and design around that. Feedback from parents. So we mentioned feedback when trying out. It's not just feedback from the kids, feedback from parents, and feedback from your colleagues. That stems into communication is key. How do you really provide opportunities to communicate within your own educator community, within your own school that you're supporting, but then also out? And so that we understand expectations and know that this is a different time where being too rigid might actually be harmful, and not consider the real realities that we are having to deal with as parents, educators, students, caregivers, and all of this now.
Yeah, and I think, a lot of our colleagues, some of them are worried about having an online meeting or hosting a Zoom or hosting a Google Meet. And, I do one every day, and I tested it out. And then the next day I said, okay, these are my office hours. You can pop in, you can ask me questions. I log into the room 3 minutes late because I was helping my daughter with something. And there's 17 kids in the room.
Yeah.
Nobody was saying anything. Yeah. But there were 17 kids in the room, just waving, how are you? Yeah. I said, so what's new? How are we dealing right now? One kid was like, I just ordered a new stand mixer because I'm going to try and make different cookies. And I was like, okay. Awesome. They just want to still have that interaction.
Yeah, so they're missing that social.
We can't be afraid to try and have a Google Meet or talk to each other on a chat or figure something out.
Yeah. Because
this is a completely new experience for all of us. So that whole idea of being worried, once again, we're throwing caution to the wind at this point.
Right.
So and if you've never tried it before, now is the time to say, you know what, I'm going to try it. And and if it fails, we learn from that mistake.
We learn from that. So, one, are you guys okay with me being able to post this and share? I want to be a responsible digital citizen. You cool?
Yes.
Share this out for other educators? Awesome. Jessica and Joe, where would you like an educator to reach out to you if they say, hey, I'd love to learn more about what you're doing? Twitter? Do you have a landing page, a web page? Like what's best for you?
Twitter's probably the easiest.
Yep, Twitter 100%.
So I'm gonna add your guys's Twitter handles in the description of the video.
Okay.
Yes,
Perfect.
please do.
Awesome. And then anything else you want to be able to share? Some like, Jessica, you mentioned the first iteration of a schedule you might try.
Sure, I can
That'd
definitely
be
try
great.
to. It might not make sense, but I can definitely try to
Yeah, and
share something out.
I'll put out the check-in form too that I've been using with
That's
my
what I was
students
gonna ask.
too. So yeah, absolutely.
Perfect.
Yep.
Perfect.
Listen, I stole it from somebody else. Not gonna lie.
That's
So
what we do.
yeah, it's what we do.
Sharing. It's called sharing.
Sharing is caring. Big borrow steal.
My college professor, one thing I remember him saying was, if it's good and it's not yours, steal it. Joseph Ellis, the College of New Jersey. I will never forget him saying that to me. And I've done that my whole career.
But I would be responsible to beg, borrow, steal, and attribute. Always provide attribution.
Yes, copyright.
Awesome. Thank you so
what I
much,
mean.
guys. So thank you so much for your time. We'll see how this goes. And you know what? Maybe we have you right. Come on back. But thank you again for sharing your insight and your time. This is really weird, crazy, but interesting times. And so we do best when we can do it together. Thank you again.
Perfect.
All right.
Excellent. Thanks, Merv.
All right. Take care.
Thanks.
Signing off.